I'm at St Peter's Church in Oundle, and I'm about to set off for the Oundle boathouse, where I'm going to walk a section of the Oundle pilgrimage known as our Oundle Pilgrimage Family Route. Well, we've just arrived at the boathouse at the end of Station Road Bridge. There's the bridge away to the left, and there's the yellow marker. Just stepping down towards the riverbank, you can see the boathouse ahead. You can also see a shell that depicts the route for the Oundle pilgrimage. Right, we're just leaving the boathouse behind, and we're going to head off on the first stage of the journey, which runs for about a mile to Cotterstock Mill. Just looking back again, you can see the old Oundle Town train station there. It ran up until about the early 60s, and since then it's become a residential building. Away to the right there, you can see St Peter's Church, which is a landmark pretty much throughout the journey. And there, once again, is the Station Road Bridge. The next place we'll be looking at is Cotterstock Weir. Well, we've arrived at the delightful Cotterstock Weir. An old friend of mine, Richard Vick, used to have great pleasure here. Often he'd sit by the riverbank painting pictures of riverside scenes, and when it got too hot for him, he went and took a dip. Another little overshot there, largely benign in summer months, and when it's not, there's a little bridge there that crosses the stream. Just see ahead there the Cotterstock Lock. And there's a little stream. There's plenty of activity on the Nene on days like this. Very popular area. We can just see Cotterstock Church in the distance there, and over to the left on the opposite bank of the river we've got the old Cotterstock Mill. You can just see it there. Years ago the grain was shipped here to other parts of the Nene Valley, and it was a very busy hub of activity, but now it's simply living out its days as a residential property. And boy, what majesty that is. Iconic even. Now the riverside walk concludes here, and we now join the cycle route, which basically follows a byway to Tanser. Here you can see the marker for the cycle route with the yellow tape, which depicts the pilgrimage. Just have a look at the river and the church there in the distance. Beautiful on a summer's day like this. Some very sumptuous buildings here. A lot of our cyclists who cycle the Oundle pilgrimage prefer to come back this way and go out at the top of the village, where they can go onto Cotterstock Road and cycle in via the George and Glapthorne Road. This, however, is pleasant enough for everybody. Yeah, cyclists or walkers both get the benefits of this countryside. It's very rural, magnificent in its own right, wonderful landmarks. We can even still see St Peter's Church there away to the right. Just coming up to a little humpback bridge here. At the next junction you'll see the original pilgrim route, cycle route back to Oundle, and where we take our course away to the left to Tanza. Well, there's the junction and the 2-mile journey back to Oundle for the cyclists. We're heading to Tanza now. You can see the byway sign, you can also see the marker and the tape. You'll notice there's red and yellow tape there. That just indicates it's a cycle route for the pilgrims. We're bearing left, only about half a mile from Tanza now. I'm going to show you another optional off-road walking track in a minute. Well, there's the off-road alternative. You can see it's a footpath sign there and a little bridge. Now this can be overgrown in the summer until all the crops are harvested, so generally we stick to the byway, which is straight ahead. But you can see just that there's a little cut in the field there. It actually comes out in the centre of the village, but it's heavily guarded with geese, although they're in a pen and they can't actually harm you. But it does provide a nice little off-road section, and it's worth doing. But for the simplicity of what I'm trying to explain in the guide, we're going to actually continue up the byway and go into Tanza before this route actually connects. So we're going to carry on now just for another quarter of a mile or so to the foot of the village. Well, there's Tanza Church ahead, and the sign says Tanza Village only, and that's exactly where we're going. Well, we're just going to investigate this little off-road section just to show you where it actually comes out. It's a little bit overgrown, but nothing too much to worry about, not until we get to the geese anyway. And there's the cut in the field. Quite easy to walk through, a little bit overgrown here. Probably advise you to keep to the byway this time of year. But here's Tanza, fiercely proud of its farming heritage. And I guess that's probably why it's appropriate that it's guarded by geese. I don't know whether they're here at the moment, they're probably having a bit of an afternoon nap. Ah, I see one. Hi geese. There they are. Value for money there. And so we head on through Tanza. Next I'm going to show you a look at the old railway bridge where the Neem Valley Railway used to run between Peterborough and Oundle, and consequently finished its journey in Northampton. Yeah, not much left of the railway now. These days it comprises very much of residential properties. I still want a glimpse below the bridge just for nostalgia, although I expect it's very overgrown now, what's left of it. Well, that's pretty much the remnants of the Neem Valley Railway. Basically a forest these days. Well, that's farewell to the diminutive little village of Tanza. Heading out towards the A605, there is actually no motor access to this road. That's the main road between Peterborough and Oundle. But there is, however, pedestrian and cycle access. Well, as we approach the A605, you can hear the traffic roaring past. Well, as the dinner traffic fades, we can again enjoy the tranquility of the countryside. A lot of this next part of the walk runs through Ashton Estate. One of the main places we'll look at here is the Elmington Ranges, which are used still by Oundle School. And then we've got the lovely thatched village of Ashton. Well, we're just coming up to the Neamway junction, which forms the rest of our journey to Ashton High Bridge. But just over the road here, you'll see the markers on the signpost, is where the pilgrims continue their cycle journeys or walks to Hemmington, Polebrook, Barmall, Thurning and Oldwinkle. So this is the actual pilgrim route. It's marked up there, and it's actually known as the Polebrook Aerodrome Road. You actually go by the cenotaph at Polebrook Aerodrome. It's an interesting place to visit. The American airborne were based there during the Second World War. You can see the byway there on the right, that actually goes to Warmington. You can't see the church there, but this is a popular walk for the pilgrims coming back to Oundle from Warmington. They prefer to walk up this route rather than the dreaded A605, which can be a bit noisy, and let's be fair, it's not a tranquil journey, is it, when you've got to put up with traffic going through. But this is a lovely route. It's the Neamway, and we're now going to join it on the way to Elmington, and then consequently Ashton, where we're hopefully going to come across our first pub. Another trail there which leads to Elmington and the A605. We don't need that, we just continue straight ahead. Now we're at the rifle ranges here. These are still used by Oundle School on CCF days, which I think are normally Wednesdays. They always used to be when I was at school. Used to be a 303 range. I'm not actually sure what they fire here now. Yeah, another little junction here. The road bears right and heads into Ashton Village, but down the left there is Ashton Wold, and I used to play cricket down there years ago. Beautiful little ground, thatched pavilion. Sadly they don't play there anymore now. I don't even think the pavilion's there, which is a shame. It's a wonderful little setting, perfect for village cricket. And the house there to the left is often referred to as Murder Cottage, due to an unsolved brutal murder after the post-war decade. But actually, to be fair to it, it now looks a picture of tranquility. Looking back on the Neamway, we've just come from Elmington Ranges, and we're now going to head into the village of Ashton itself. We go to the Checkered Skipper normally to get a stamp for our passports if we're actually walking the pilgrimage. There aren't that many places you can get stamps on the family route because it only runs for 6 to 7 miles. There will be the opportunity going back into Oundle to get stamps, and also at Trek Kits, which is the people that supply the walking guides, passport and any walking equipment that you actually need for this job. Basically, the one thing we ask you to take is plenty of water, a picnic lunch, because often it can be a nice day out, and always carry some waterproofs for the British summer. Just glancing to the left there, you'll see another byway. We actually use that as one of our pub strolls. The byway takes you out at the Armston Junction, but you bear left there and walk to Polebrook. So that's sort of a shorter version of the pilgrimage, and a means of getting to Polebrook. Otherwise, the main route goes to Hemmington from here, where the junction was at the Neamway, and that's a long way to Polebrook from there. Well, there's the Checkered Skipper away to the left there, popular eating restaurant and pub. And in the summertime, as you can see, this can be a hub of activity. Wonderful idyllic village green. Just leaving Ashton Green behind. Just going to have a quick look at the old chapel here, which is now a residential property. Looks as though it needs a bit of renovation there, a bit of scaffolding up round the roof. It's also an interesting walk back to Oundle there, which we've used in the past on pilgrimage days when we've been supporting Sue Ryder. But today we're just going to continue across the meadows to Ashton Mill, and then I think we'll take either a riverside journey back to Oundle, or we'll just simply cross the meadows. Here we go, nice little lane here leading to the pastures. You can just see the old mill ahead there, and just sticking out from the trees is the St Peter's Church. You've got to be mindful that this is a very busy section of road. It's extremely hazardous. I know it's only a country road and it serves little more really than Holbrook, Barnwell maybe, and Hemmington at its best. But they tend to use it as a bit of a rally circuit, unfortunately. But this is still part of the Neem Way, and we just cross here and take a little stroll through the mill. And there's the derelict mill. It was sort of used in the early 1900s to supply power to the village. Since then really it's been benign. I guess it opened for a while, I think in the 80s, as a fish and bygone museum, where it actually had the old machinery used to convert the mill back in the 1900s. But as you can see, it's just barely a ghost of its former self. Still a building, but nothing's ever going to happen here again, I don't think. Just looking over the wall there is a beautiful mill pond. Used to be very popular for fishing, full of lily pads there. You won't actually see any fish, it's a bit too dull in any case. And from here the Neem Way just continues across the meadows to Ashton High Bridge. We have a few water sports enthusiasts and dog walkers in the distance. Lovely little walk along the riverbank here. There's the bridge. Well, we're nearing conclusion of our journey now. As you can see, St Peter's there to the left, but also I noticed to the right on the riverbank itself there's quite a lot of maintenance going on here. I can only assume it's in line with the fishing season, which starts next week, because they do hold a lot of fishing matches along this stretch of water. In fact, I think it runs for about 5 miles from Cheremy Bridge right up to Cottesstock there. There's a few other people there enjoying the sunshine, having a picnic, and plenty of boaters on the water today. I keep seeing canoeists go by. I've seen the odd barge too. Lovely stretch of water. Must be wonderful passing underneath that lovely stone arch bridge, which is pretty much where we started. The actual last bit of this, going back up to the road there, forms the initiation of the main pilgrimage. So you actually start from St Peter's Church to Tretkits, and then to the meadows at the gate at the top there, and away you go. But it's nice that the family route interacts with the main route, I think, and you go to similar places, and although there's not many pit stops along the way, you do get this lovely, beautiful rural countryside. And there, just in the distance, is the boathouse where we actually entered the pastures for the first time on the walk. Look at that though, all those buttercups. Faint little trail there, but basically it's a lovely walk along that riverbank. Here's Tretkits to the left, which forms the last outpost of the journey. You can always nip in and get a stamp if it's open. If not, you have to head into town and try one of the pubs. They'll give you a stamp for your passport. There's also the new Neem Valley Brewery there, and a cycling shop as well. Hub of industry here, I believe. Well, it looks that way. I hope they're all doing very well. Well, this is me signing off here. I'm going to head into town now, which leads me to say, don't forget to join us on the 9th of August, which is Pilgrim's Day, and we'll be supporting Sue Ryder at Thorpe Hall, our local charity in Peterborough. Thank you very much.